was thinking I'd do a soft flow. Is that okay? That's my fave, always, really.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay, friends, let's do it then. So I'm gonna just mute you guys. And if anybody else pops on, they'll be muted. And I'll spotlight myself. Leave your video on if you like, turn it off if you prefer, whatever feels most comfortable for you. And then let's just go ahead today and start lying down on our back. So go ahead and just find a comfortable supine position. And go ahead and lie down. And then as you lie down, it might feel nice to just kind of stretch your body a little bit. So maybe you want to hug your knees in. Maybe you want to take a big full body stretch. Maybe you even just want to give yourself like a little massage, temple massage, jaw massage. So give yourself a moment to just settle in, not rushing into it. Any little wiggles, any little stretches, go ahead and feel around. And then just come to rest eventually in a comfortable position for you. So that might be just corpse pose, legs extended, arms down at your sides or out away from your sides. Maybe it feels good to bring your feet to the ground with your knees bent. I'm going to bring my feet to the ground with my knees bent and let my feet come out nice and wide, and then my knees fall in. So that's a nice way to open up some space in your low back. You might also want to bring your feet together and let your knees open. So you do you. Your arms can rest, or if you'd like, one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. Close your eyes. And just take these first few moments to really allow yourself to arrive fully on your mat. So letting go of anything that you had going on earlier today, right before this class. Letting go of where you have to be after this class or what you've got to do after this class. And just let yourself be right here. So feel your body on the ground. Give all your weight to the ground. Start to notice more the rise and fall of your breath. So maybe you start to feel, if you have your hands on your heart and your belly, maybe you start to feel into that expansion of your inhales. So your chest and your belly press up into your hands. And then the letting go of your exhale. So your chest and belly fall back down towards the ground. Maybe you're a visual person, maybe you're not, but invitation to visualize your breath in a color, whatever color comes to mind. You don't have to think too much about it. But start to just see it flowing through you. Maybe it looks like vapor, maybe it looks like stardust, maybe it looks like water, liquid. See it flowing up and down the length of your spine, all the way down into your toes, all the way out into your fingers. Next time you inhale, very intentionally fill up as big as you can. Take a moment to pause. So see your breath filling up every tiny little space inside of you. Hold. And then big open mouth sigh. Ah. Just let it go all the way to emptiness. 2 more like that. Inhale, fill up. Take a moment, hold in fullness. Maybe an extra sip. Every little space inside of you fills up with breath. Big sigh out your mouth, release. Ah. And then one more time. Biggest inhale you've taken all day long. Hold, pause, visualize your breath circulating around inside of you. And then open your mouth side out, let it go. Ah. Very good. Start to drop into Ujjayi breath now. So in and out through your nose, gentle constriction in the muscles of the back of your throat. So it's like you're using the muscles in the back of your throat to just regulate your breath, to slow it down and smooth it out. So you start to create just a little whisper noise, an oceanic sound as you breathe in and breathe out. So stay connected to your breath. And go ahead and just draw your knees in towards your belly and just rock gently from side to side. So give your low back a nice little massage against the ground. And then after a few rocks from side to side, just allow both of your knees to fall over to your right, left arm out to the left. You can also cactus your left arm against the ground, bend your left elbow. Try to stay rooted through the back of your left shoulder. If it lifts up a little bit, that's fine. And then gaze up or over your left shoulder. Take a couple more big, deep breaths down into your belly. And then as you are ready, just slowly come back to that little balls on your back. So just hugging your knees in, curling up into a little ball, maybe even giving your knees a big squeeze in. You might lift your forehead up towards your knees. As you are ready, other side. So just let your knees fall to the left. Right arm out to the right, or cactus with your right arm. Back of your right shoulder roots towards the ground. So if it lifts just a bit, that's okay, but have the intention of pressing it down. And breathe all the way down into your low belly and your low back, all the way to emptiness with your exhalations. Good, you guys. When you feel pretty even on both sides with your twist, so maybe you want to take 1 or 2 more breaths. Eventually come back to center. And this time, full body stretch. So arms long, legs long. Pull yourself apart. Reach actively through fingers and toes. Take 1 more big in-breath. Exhale, draw your knees back in towards your belly. Gently rock it out side to side, or maybe you want to kind of circle your knees around. Reverse your circles. Eventually, we will meet on hands and knees. So you are more than welcome to get there any way you want. Option to grab hold of your legs. I like to grab the backs of my thighs. If it's available, you can grab the front of your shins. Start to rock and roll forward and back. So rock about 5 or 6 times, making these rocks as smooth as possible, building up some momentum, but still feeling as if you are in control, so you could stop if you wanted to at any time. Eventually, rock up, cross your ankles, and just roll over your feet. Bring your hands to the ground in front of you. Come onto hands and knees. So everyone tabletop position. Kind of crawl back if needed, so you're centered on your yoga mat. And then start to move through your cat-cows with your ujjayi breath. So inhale to lift the crown of your head and your tailbone. This is called spinal extension. Exhale to round, curl in, chin to chest, belly button draws in and up. You might even push the ground away, spinal flexion. Inhale, extension. And you can just go at your own pace, back and forth. See if you can start to find more mobility through the middle of your back, through the middle of your spine. So most people, when they first do cat-cows, they're mostly just moving their upper and their lower back. Their mid-back doesn't really do much. So see if you can start to feel more mobility right in the center of your spine. Take 1 or 2 more rounds back and forth with your breath. And then eventually just come to a neutral spine position. So regular tabletop, hands and knees. Your knees are at least hips width distance, and we're going to take thread the needle. So option if you'd like to extend your left leg out to the left, toes face directly forward, your heel comes directly out from your hip. Take your right arm out to the right and then reach it all the way up to the sky. Inhale, exhale, reach your right arm underneath. So reach, 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 and then come down to rest. Outside of your shoulder, outside of your head, on the ground, just gently. You can take any variation or explore any way you want to. Take about 4 or 5 breaths total. Good job, you guys. Last couple of rounds. If you do happen to have your left hand lifted, set your left palm back down. On an inhalation, unthread your right arm, reach it out and up, open up. Exhale, set your right hand down, and then pick up your left foot, swing your left leg all the way over. So your left hip toes come off the right side of your mat. Pull your hips over to the left just a little bit, and then gaze back over your right shoulder. So really lengthening through your left side. Maybe you rock forward or back. Maybe you find spinal extension or flexion. Breathe. One last huge breath. And then back to a tabletop, back to hands and knees. From your hands and knees, step your feet to the back of your mat. You'll be in a plank position. You're welcome to bring your knees back down if you want to modify plank instead. Totally fine. Take an inhale at the top of your push-up. And then exhale, slowly lower to your belly. One strong, straight, powerful line of energy. We're going to stay on our belly and move into a shoulder pigeon with our right shoulder. So right arm straight out to the right. Your palm faces the ground. And then roll up onto your right side. If this feels like too much, you might move your right hand down so it's a little lower than your shoulder. If you want more, you can move your right hand up a little bit, or even start to make a more of a goalpost position with your right arm. Get to a place where you can rest your head down. So if you need to, use a pillow or a blanket or something under your head. My left foot is behind me. There's other variations you can take with your left leg and with your left arm. I like to take my left arm up and then tuck my forearm around my low back. Just rest it there. So feeling into your variation, your version of this pose today, and give it about 5 to 7 more deep breaths. Focus on your deep breath. So breathing as big as you can, filling up all the little spaces as you breathe in. And then all the way to empty and softening around those hard edges as you breathe out. Good, you guys. Last couple breaths. And then ease your way onto your belly. Turn your head for a moment to the other side. And either bring both arms out to both sides or both arms down by your sides, palms face up. You can kind of rock your hips side to side, just kind of shimmy them side to side, or bend your knees. Make sure your knees are at least hips width distance apart, windshield wiper your shins. Maybe you want to cactus your arms against the ground. So anything that feels good with your arms. Breathe down into your low back.
In your next couple breaths, find your way, however you want to get there, back to a downward facing dog. Take a moment just to walk out your dog. Pedal out your heels, shift your weight around. Maybe give your head a little shake, a little nod. Feel into your shoulder. So you might notice, does right shoulder feel different than left shoulder? No right or wrong answer, just taking in information. Really feeling into the length from your fingertips up to your sit bones. Take one more big spacious breath into your down dog. And then at the end of your exhale, set your knees on the ground ever so gently. Tabletop position, knees at least hips width distance apart. You can stay here or you can extend your right leg out to the right. So we're moving in to thread the needle with our left arm. Make sure your heel comes straight out from your hip, toes face forward. Left arm out to the left, all the way up. Inhale, and then exhale, thread it through. So reach, 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 and then rest down gently outside of your shoulder, outside of your head. Breathe into your back body a lot. Good job, you guys. About 3 more breaths. If you happen to have your right hand lifted, bring your right hand back to the ground. On an inhale, unthread your left arm, reach it out and up. Open up, set your left hand down. Pick up your right foot and swing your right leg off the left side of your mat. So your tiptoes press into the ground, they're curled under, at least mine are. You can try untucking them if you'd rather, feel into that. Pull your hips over to the right and then look back over your left shoulder. So sometimes I see people do this and all that changes is their head. They just look back over their left shoulder. See if you can use your entire body. So maybe you lean into it. Maybe you bend your elbows. Maybe you bend one elbow. Maybe you round. Maybe you peekaboo under your left armpit. Take one more deep breath. Come back to tabletop, hands and knees. From hands and knees, step your feet to the back of your mat. Once again, plank position. Feel free to modify if you want to. Inhale, push the ground away. Slowly lower down, exhale. All the way to your belly. And then turn your head to the right. Shoulder pigeon with your left arm this time. So left arm straight out, palm faces down. Roll up onto your left side. And maybe the side feels completely different and you want to do something different. So exploring with your right leg, your right arm. Make sure your head can rest. And then focus on your big, spacious breath. Good, you guys. About 4 more. Open mouth sighs are always welcome. Bottom of your next exhale, so take it all the way to empty. And then ease your way onto your belly. For a moment, turn your head the opposite way. So turn your head to the left, and you choose what arm position you want to take. Maybe a little shimmy of your hips side to side, just rocking them side to side. Or maybe you want to windshield wiper your shins. You could also play with egg beater. So just circling your feet in opposite directions at opposite times, like you're throwing them into a mixing bowl. You can see what I'm doing. This is what I'm talking about. Kind of a mind-body coordination. All right, and then however you want to get there, once again, in your next couple breaths or so, downward facing dog. Once you're back in your down dog, walk it out. Find your breath. Feel the length and the strength that's there. Take one more big inhale into your dog pose. Exhale, look to the top of your mat, step, tiptoe, or hop forward full top of your space. Once you have arrived, find your halfway lift position, breathe in and lengthen. Exhale, bow and fold. Do that again, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. And then this time all the way up. Rise, arms to the sky, inhale. And hands to heart, exhale. Flow with your breath. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, dive down slowly. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Press into your feet, lead with your heart, rise all the way up, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart center, one more time, like that. Inhale, high mountain. Exhale, follow your breath down. Breathe in, find your halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. And from the press of your feet, rise back up, reach up, stretch. Hands to heart, exhale. All right, inhale, take your arms up. Side body stretch of your choice over to your right. So like a crescent moon shape. Your hips go left, your upper body reaches right. Maybe your right hand is on your right hip, maybe you're grabbing your wrist. So lots of options. Take one more round into your left side. Inhale through center, realign. And then your variation to the other side, up and over. Exhale. Be here for a moment, really rooting into your right foot, especially the inner edge of your right foot. Think of that crescent moon shape. Breathe, soften your face. One last round. Back to center, inhale. Exhale, listen, hands behind your back, interlace your fingers. Roll your shoulders back and down, shoulder blades hug your spine. Maybe your hands reach back, maybe your heart lifts up. One more in-breath. Exhale, keep your clasp as you dive down into your fold. Keep your clasp, hang out for about 3 rounds in your fold. Try to let your neck relax, let your head be heavy. Lift your butt, your sit bones. Lift your knuckles. Saw through your face. One last round. Very end of your exhale, hands to low back. Release your clasp, let your arms hang. Take a moment, maybe a little shake of your head, and then when you're ready on an inhalation, halfway lift position. Take just a moment holding in your halfway lift and really feeling into a nice long spine. Connected to your center, so draw your belly button in and up. Feel the length in the back of your neck so your gaze is down rather than forward. Take one more big inhale. Exhale, plant your hands, feet back, plank or modified plank. Inhale at the top of your push-up, push the ground away. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, let's find a Sphinx pose. So forearms to the ground in front of you. Forearms are parallel, elbows are straight down from your shoulders. Press down with your hands and your forearms. Spread your fingers wide. And then energetically pull back with your arms. So it's almost like you're trying to drag your body forward. See if you can find a little tone of your belly as you reach your tailbone down towards your heels. So you feel your low back lengthen as you draw your belly button in and up. Press down through your shoelaces and your toenails. Breathe. One more inhale, Sphinx. Exhale, release. Choose one more back bend. Anything goes. So I'm going to go for full cobra pose. And then meet back in down dog. No rush. Ujjayi breath. Fire it up. Recommit to it. Reconnect to it. All right. From your down dog, inhale, right leg high. Exhale ever so softly. Step your right foot forward, low lunge. This is a little bit different. So you can use, if you have at home, blocks under your hands. You're more than welcome to use them. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep my fingertips on the ground. We're going to go back and forth through a couple of poses. So it looks like this. Inhale, let your hips drop down. Maybe your back knee taps down. Lift your heart gaze forward. And then as you exhale, lift your hips, pull your right hip back as you work your front leg towards straight, forehead towards shin, nose toward knee. Inhale, come forward. So bend your front knee, lift your heart, back knee taps. And exhale, straighten. Back and forth on your own a few more times like that. And again, if you have blocks to use under your hands, please feel free to use them. If you don't have blocks, maybe you want to use water bottles under your hands. So be creative. You're at home. You have plenty of things at your disposal. Use them. All right. Next time you come into that low lunge position, stay there. So back knee on the ground. This time, untuck your back toes. Bring your hands to the inside of your right foot. Walk your right foot out wide. And then continue to work your hips down. Lift your heart up. So I'm trying right now to lift my heart almost like I'm doing a cobra pose. If you roll onto the outer edge of your right foot or pivot your right toes out to the right, that's totally fine. Take about 3 more breaths right here. Hips towards the ground, heart lifts up, one last round. Okay, from here, walk your right foot back to midline and frame your right foot. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Step your back foot in about a foot or so, setting up your pyramid pose. I like my feet on 2 train tracks with all of my toes facing forward. Find a halfway lift position. Bring your hands to your front thigh. Push your hands into your front thigh. Pull your right hip back. Reach the crown of your head forward. So see if you can push your hands into your thigh and at the same time press your thigh back into your hands. So you feel muscle energy and feel active here. Right hip is pulling back, but at the same time as you're pulling your right hip back, you're pushing your thigh into your hands. Your hands are pushing your leg back. So really find muscle energy, not just passive. When you are ready, work into your fold. Forehead towards shin, nose toward knee, navel towards spine. Keep pulling your right butt cheek back and up. Breathe. You want your front right thigh to fire as much as you can as you're stretching through the back of your right leg through your hamstring. Take your last couple breaths. Good job, you guys. And then listen, bend your front knee if you need to, so your hands can come to the ground, and just step your left foot all the way to the back of your mat. Step your right foot all the way to the back of your mat. You're in a plank pose. Inhale at the top of your push-up. Exhale, slowly lower. Back bend of your choice. Lift your heart. Take your time. And then for a moment, just sit back into a child's pose. Reconnect to your breath. Feel whatever there is to feel. Notice whatever there is to notice. Open your mouth and sigh it out if you want to. Last couple rounds in child's pose. And then downward facing dog. Ujjayi breath. Inhale your left leg to the sky. Slowly, softly exhale left foot to the top of your space, low lunge. And then moving into that back and forth, it's called Vinyasa Krama. So you're letting your back knee come down, your heart lift up. And then exhale, straighten, pull your left butt cheek back, forehead toward chin, nose toward knee, navel towards spine, back and forth with your breath. Inhale, down, heart lifts. Feel free to use blocks under your hands if you have them. Exhale, straighten, try to keep your hips square. Back and forth. You want to bring both hands inside your left leg, if that would be helpful, feel free to do so. I'll show you what that would look like. You bring your left foot out wide, both hands inside. Same thing, just back and forth. We're going to do this eventually. You can do it now if you'd like. Take about 1 or 2 more. And then next time you're in that lunge position, stay there. Back knee to the ground, untuck your back toes. Hands to the inside of your left foot. Left foot walks out to the width of your mat, or maybe even off the side of your mat. Left toes can pivot to the left, or you can roll into the outer edge of your left foot. Try to let your heart move down, or excuse me, your hips move down as your heart lifts up. So hips towards the ground, heart towards the sky. If your front knee is coming forward over your ankle, so that would look like this. So what you need to do then, bring your front foot forward more. Breathe, slow, deep breaths. Hips towards the ground, heart lifts, 2 or 3 more. Sigh out your mouth at any time if you want to. Ah. All right, end of your next exhale. You can kind of lift your hips up as you work your left foot back to midline, so you're framing your left foot. And then lift your back knee up, step your back foot in a bit, so you're in a pyramid stance, both feet flat. I like my feet on 2 train tracks, all 10 toes face forward. Some people like their feet on a balance beam with their back foot at an angle. You want to try to get your hips square, so whatever will help you do that. Find a halfway lift, hands to your front thigh. Use that, so push into your front thigh with your hands and feel your left hip drop back, crown of your head reach forward. And then why I'm saying to push your leg into your hands into your leg, because I want you to feel your left quad fire, so there's strength there. And keep pulling your left butt cheek back, so you're lengthening through the back of your left leg. Stay rooted through the inner edge of your left foot. Whenever you are ready, you can turn this into a fold. So keep pulling left hip back and up, forehead toward chin, nose toward knee, navel toward spine. Big deep breaths. So use your exhales, soften around the pose, maybe dive a little deeper, take 2 or 3 more. Good job, you guys. End of your next exhale. Bring your fingertips to the ground, so bend your front knee if you need to. Step your back foot all the way back, so you'll be in a low lunge. Step your front foot back, so you'll be in a plank. Inhale at the top of your push-up. Exhale to slowly lower. Back bend of your choice, lift your heart. Take a moment here, give yourself a breath or two, couple breaths. And then instead of a child's pose, you can go there if you'd like, but otherwise invitation to move into screaming toe pose. So from a tabletop position, make sure your knees are hips width distance, and then tuck your toes under, sit back onto your heels. Hug in with your inner heels. They're not touching, they're just hugging in. Sit up tall. If this feels way too intense, keep your hands on a block out in front of you or on the ground out in front of you. You can kind of take some weight off there. Otherwise, you're sitting back, sitting tall, hands to heart, or maybe just rest your arms down if you want. You can work through your arms in some way. Just breathe. Feel whatever there is to feel. Notice whatever there is to notice. Good job. If you are in screaming toe pose, take one last breath there. And then end of your exhale, hands and knees, untuck your toes, give the tops of your feet a little pitter patter against the ground. Everybody meet back when you're ready in downward facing dog. And if you did just take screaming toe pose, notice as you move into down dog, notice all that awareness in your feet. Inhale, take your right leg to the sky. Open up your right hip, bend your knee, peel it open. Take a moment to be here, stretch here. You can stay here, or option to flip your dog. Right foot comes down behind you. Reach your right arm forward, reach your heart forward, lift your hips up. Couple breaths in your wild thing or your flip dog. And then bring it back. Everybody, three-legged down dog. Right leg extends. Maybe you play with squaring off your hips and see how that feels different. Take one more in breath. Exhale, pigeon pose. Right shin comes to the top of your yoga mat. Set your body down gently. Right knee towards the outer right edge of your mat. Pull right hip back, left hip forward. So you want to plug the femur bones into the hip sockets. And then keep pulling your right hip back as you take your heart forward. So same as you would do when you swan dive down, butt goes back, heart goes forward. Same thing as you fold into your pigeon or just kind of soften into your humble pigeon pose. Focus on your deep breath. Take about 5 more. As you're ready, next couple of breaths, start to transition up into a seated position. So you can come up and kind of sit over onto your right butt cheek, swing your left leg around. Take both legs out in front of you, give them a little shake out. And then after a little shake out, windshield wipers. So feet wide, bend your knees. You can lean back on your hands behind you. Just try not to roll your shoulders forward. So shoulders back and down. Chest is puffed up like a proud chest. Back and forth slowly. This feels so good to me. This feels so therapeutic in my hips. So go slow enough to really feel into it. When I take my knees to one side, I really work my top knee forward and down, and I kind of turn in the opposite direction with my upper body. So these, I think, are so therapeutic if you let them be. If you just kind of plop your knees side to side mindlessly, they're not very therapeutic. They're just kind of whatever. It's like everything in yoga and in life, I suppose. All right, so after a few rounds back and forth, come back to center. And we're going to work with Baddha Konasana, so just seated cobbler's pose, feet together, knees apart. If it's hard for you, this pose, and you feel like you're gonna kind of roll backwards, then bring your butt up onto a pillow or a bolster or a blanket or something. So it's kind of just like giving you a head start. You do not have to bring your feet super close to your body. Only bring them as close as you can without feeling like your tailbone's tucking under and you're gonna roll backwards. So the idea is to stick your butt out behind you, get onto the front edge of your sit bones, maybe grab hold of your shins or your ankles and use your arms as a lever to pull your heart forward. So heart goes forward, shoulders go back, butt reaches back, and then start to work a little bit deeper, start to dive forward. Eventually you can round, maybe your hands reach forward, or maybe there's something else you want to do with your hands or your arms. Breathe down into your low back, down into your hips and your groin. Keep pressing your heels together. So not so much your toes, but your heels are what we want to be pressing together. Focus on your deep breaths. Three more. At the bottom of your third exhale, so take it all the way to empty and then just slow roll up. Your head is the very last thing to lift up. Once your head stacks, bring your knees up and see if you can grab hold of the backs of your thighs or the fronts of your shins. Make sure you have plenty of space behind you. And I'm just going to start to rock and roll forward and back. So I'm going to let myself roll back, and then I'm going to take a few rolls, little engagement through my core, connection to my center. After a few rocks, a few rolls, rock forward just like at the beginning. Roll over your feet, hands to the ground in front of you, crawl back if needed. You're on hands and knees. Some movement from there is more than welcome. Eventually, see you back in down dog. So if you want to move through a vinyasa to get there, do so. Otherwise, however you want to get back to downward facing dog, and then just walk it out. Reconnect to your Ujjayi breath. Inhale, left leg to the sky. Open up your hips, so bend your knee, reach your knee out and up, peel it open. This is a really nice stretch for the front of your left hip, so great place to stay. Option to flip your dog if you want to. Left foot comes down behind you, left arm reaches forward, heart forward. Lift your hips and feel the strength in your back body. Breathe down into your belly, last big breath if you're in the back bend. And then come back to your down dog, or excuse me, your three-legged dog. Option to square off your hips if you want, and just feel that difference. Inhale here. Exhale, pigeon pose. Left shin forward, gently set your body down. Take time to find that stability first. So left hip pulls back, right hip pulls forward. Keep that as you bow forward. And then once you're bowing forward, if you want to go deeper at any time, all you have to do is scoot your back knee back just a tiny bit. It doesn't take that much. Big breaths down into your left hip, so you might even visualize your breath. Moving down into your left hip, softening the muscles there, creating space there. Take about 5 more breaths in your pigeon. Anytime you want, side out your mouth. One last huge breath. Slowly start to find your way into a seat. So if you're in regular pigeon, just lift up and ease your way onto your left butt cheek. Your hips open as you sit. And then right leg swings around. Both legs out in front of you for a moment. Just kind of shake them out. Maybe you want to give them a little glove pounding. I just think that feels good. And then windshield wipers when you're ready. So feet wide. Bend your knees side to side. Try not to roll your shoulders forward, but instead keep them rolled back. So anytime, well, I shouldn't say anytime, but many times when you find that you're rolling your shoulders forward, so this action of shoulders going forward rather than back and plugged in, most of the time we're trying to avoid this. Not always, but just become more aware of that. So here, obviously, rolling the shoulders forward is just collapsing them. So we're rolling them back, blossoming our heart up. So just starting to get curious maybe about the actions of your shoulders. After a few rounds of these windshield wipers, you guys, we're going to come down onto our backs and find a supine Baddha Konasana, supine cobbler's pose. So Supta Baddha Konasana. I feel like that's like everybody's favorite pose name to say. Supta Baddha Konasana. So feet together, knees apart, resting on your back. When you come into this pose, if this bothers your low back, scoot your feet further away from your upper body. Remember, not pressing through your toes, but pressing your heels together. Arms down by your sides, palms face down. Now, we're going to just lift. We're going to do 3 rounds. We're going to lift our hips up by pressing down through everything else. So just listen. Exhale all your air out. Press your heels together. Press your palms down. Inhale, lift your butt, lift your hips. Press your heels together. Imagine that somebody's pressing your knees towards the ground, but you're trying to lift your hips up, up, up. So lift, lift, lift. Keep pressing heels. Keep breathing. Keep squeezing through your outer glutes. One last round. And then end of your exhale, let it go. Rest for a moment. You can flutter your knees a little bit if you want. Let them kind of bob up and down. 2 more rounds, just like that. So exhale all your air out. Push your heels together. Push your palms down. Lift. Inhale. Lift your butt. Squeeze through your outer glutes. Press your heels. Imagine somebody's pressing your knees down. And against that, you're lifting your hips up. So they're pressing your knees down. You're lifting your hips up. Squeeze your glutes. Outer glutes. One last round. And let it go, rest. You can again. Just gently let your knees flutter a little bit. Last one, last time. So exhale, press your heels, press your palms. Inhale, lift your butt, squeeze your outer glutes, press your heels, squeeze, breathe. Somebody, invisible person who's pressing your knees down, press against them, lift your hips higher, one last round. And release, good job, you guys. You can lift your knees up. And then switch it up, so feet wide, knees together for a moment. Just rest there if you want, one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. If this feels like a little too much, you might want to take a couple windshield wipers before coming into constructive rest pose. Maybe it feels good to just kind of neutralize for a moment. Eventually, feet together, or excuse me, feet apart, knees together. Just breathe down into your low back. One hand to heart, one hand to belly if you'd like. You are welcome to stay right here. So this is constructive rest pose. It's a really nice place to rest. There's not much, you're not doing much at all, but there is space being created inside. It's still constructive. If a happy baby would feel nice to you, or maybe a full body stretch, or maybe some other pose, maybe some inversion. So if there is anything else that will finish off your practice for you, feel free to move through whatever that may be. And then, my friends, just start to find your way into your final relaxation. No hurry. My thought for you as you move into your Savasana. This thing that no longer serves me also once saved me. This thing that now hinders me also once helped me. So may I learn to bow down and pray to all the ways I learned to survive as I walk towards new ways that will allow me to thrive. This thing that no longer serves me also once saved me. This thing that now hinders me also once helped me. So may I learn to bow down and pray to all the ways I learned to survive as I walk towards new ways that will allow me to thrive. So these last few moments, just let your breath become effortless. Let go of any effort, let go of any manipulation. Just let your body breathe you. And give yourself these last couple moments, not to figure out what you're getting at the grocery store, not to figure out what you're going to talk about in your next meeting, but if possible, just to simply be here, doing nothing, fixing nothing, controlling nothing, just letting your body be as it is and letting yourself feel and observe all that space inside of you and all that energy flowing through you. Shavasana. Take a deep breath in. And let it go. You'll start to wiggle through fingers, toes. Maybe take a full body stretch. Eventually, roll to either side. Fetal position for just a moment. And then using your arms, keep your body as relaxed as possible. Just ease your way up into seated meditation. So just take one last moment. Sit up tall, close your eyes. Gather your hands to your heart. And just bow your head to your heart and acknowledge yourself. Thank yourself for showing up on your mat today, doing your practice. Thank you guys so much for letting me guide you. The light in me sees and reflects the light in you. Namaste. All right, guys. Thank you, friends. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks, Katie.
You're so welcome.